If mornings feel a little chaotic and breakfast is typically the first thing that falls apart, you are not alone. I'm a full time working mom of two, and if I don't prep something ahead of time, breakfast just does not happen the way that I want it to, especially when I'm trying to prioritize high protein. So, today I'm going to be sharing my top 5 high protein breakfasts that I rotate week to week depending on what I'm feeling. Some have eggs, some don't, but the bottom line is that breakfast is done before the day even gets started. These are simple, repeatable, and realistic for those busy mornings. So let's get into it. For these breakfast burritos, I started with Real Good tortillas, which I found at Costco, and I have been in love with them. They pack 10 grams of protein each, which is really good in my opinion for a tortilla. They taste much better than those low carb tortillas, in my opinion, that are like the Mission tortillas. Those are still good, but these, I don't know. I just like the texture. I think they're great, and I hope Costco doesn't stop selling them. But anyway, for the eggs, I'm using a combination of 1 whole egg and 6 tablespoons of egg whites per burrito here. This gives you the flavor and texture of a whole egg while still keeping the protein high and the fat a little lower. It's just one of my favorite ways to make breakfast burritos because they stay satisfying without feeling too heavy. But if you're making a larger batch, you can definitely bake the eggs in a sheet pan instead of cooking them on the stovetop. I've done this plenty of times before on my channel. You essentially just blend cottage cheese into the eggs before cooking them, and egg whites and all of that. The texture is slightly different, but you pour them into a sheet pan, bake them. So it really just comes down to personal preference. It's a great option for meal prep. One thing I love about breakfast burritos is how easy they customize. I've kept them super simple in this example, but you can add turkey sausage, mushrooms, spinach, peppers, whatever. So once everything's cooked, I like to warm the tortillas for a few seconds. It just makes it easier to fold. And then you add your egg mixture and they're good to go. These freeze really well, which is why I make them so often. I just wrap each burrito individually in foil and then I store them in a freezer bag. When I need a quick breakfast, I'll usually take one out the night before, but they do reheat and defrost rather quickly, which segues perfectly into the next high protein breakfast, which are protein overnight oats, which are probably the simplest breakfast I think I've ever make. It's literally just putting everything into a jar, mixing it, and sticking it into the fridge. For overnight oats, I usually do half a cup of oats to 1 cup of unsweetened almond milk, but you can change it however you'd like. And then for this particular one, I kept it super simple and just added 1 scoop of Orgain chocolate protein powder. That's technically half a serving of this particular protein, but you can, customize this however you want. But this particular protein, I just feel like this tastes like chocolate milk oats. My kids love it as well. And yeah, if you don't want to use protein powder, you can definitely use, you can use Greek yogurt. I personally like to use this 000 Oikos yogurt. It's flavored. This is strawberry, but it just makes it creamy and adds 15 grams of protein, which I love. And in this case, I used some chia seeds as well. So just super customizable, great for breakfast on the go, and definitely a good option in the summer. So this is typically more of a breakfast for fall and winter to cozy up, with a big bowl of oatmeal. But that said, still a go-to in those colder months and something I wanted to share. There are ways to add protein to your oats other than overnight oats, and this is one of those ways that I love to do because it makes your oatmeal twice the size. That makes sense. It's just a volumizer and it adds protein. So in order to do this, you do need quick oats. If you don't have quick oats, but you have rolled oats or oats, you can blend them and kind of create that quick oat texture. You just really don't want egg whites to bind to one flake of bigger oat, if that makes sense. I've done it, and just believe me, you will end up with scrambled eggs. It's not great. So I just blend a bunch of oats and I put them in a mason jar to use later if I don't go through them in make a big batch. But you're going to add, the ratio is half a cup to about a cup and a quarter of water. I'm just going to keep it at low heat and just continue mixing. The key is low heat. Again, you don't want an omelet, and this is something you kind of have to baby. You can't really walk away and come back to, some scrambled eggs. So I do like to make this in a big batch, and then I'll just put it in meal prep containers for like 4 or 5 days and heat up, when I go to eat it. But again, something very customizable. I like to add, so you add egg whites. I add half a cup, and then you just keep stirring, making sure that everything is well mixed and cooked through. And then you have this like fluffy oatmeal that is just delicious in my opinion. I like to add peanut butter and banana, but some frozen blueberries on this is also very delicious. Tastes like a blueberry muffin in my opinion. You could add apples, I don't know, whatever, but it is great. I love it. And sometimes you'll see me eat this even in the summer months. It's that good. These high-protein egg bites are one of my easiest breakfast to meal prep, and honestly, I don't know why anyone is still buying them from Starbucks unless you're in like dire need. All I do is blend together cottage cheese, eggs, and egg whites until smooth. The cottage cheese adds extra protein, gives them that soft, fluffy texture, and then I mix in some diced bell peppers and cheese, and that's the best part about these egg bites. You can customize them however you want, and I tend to do so I don't get burned out. There's so many different variations out there. You can add spinach, bacon, ham, chicken sausage, different cheeses, really whatever you have on hand. Once everything is mixed together, I pour it into a muffin pan and bake until set. I do love using these particular muffin pans, the silicone ones, because I just find them so much easier to pop the egg out instead of the regular muffin tins tend to stick a little bit, but those work as well. They're perfect for meal prep because you can make a whole batch in advance and just reheat them throughout the week. They freeze well, and seriously, save your money. These taste just as good. They're incredibly easy to make, and you'll save a ton compared to buying egg bites at Starbucks every week. Plus, you get the added bonus of knowing exactly what's going into them. And lastly, we've got breakfast sandwiches. I personally like to make them on English muffins just because I feel like they're the perfect size to kind of grab and go if you're eating breakfast on the go like I am a lot these days. But you can also feel free to use whatever bread. In this particular case, I was just making a one-off sandwich, but when I do truly make these for meal prep, I would typically do the sheet pan eggs and just cut out use a cup to cut out a circle for these English muffins. But you can do it however you'd like. I use some egg whites and egg, very similar to the breakfast burrito. And then I like adding these chicken sausages. I get these at Costco. They're really flavorful, and they also add some protein. And then you just assemble your sandwich, and you can freeze these. They freeze really well. Or just eat it on the go like I did here. I wrapped it in foil and had to dart out the door and take my kids somewhere. But yeah. I love breakfast sandwiches. They're tasty, pack a lot of protein, and they'll keep you full until lunch. As always, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.